Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Two great guests, Speaker Mike Johnson, just off a massive victory, and Steve Moore, economist extraordinaire. But before we get to them, look at this from the Daily Beast. Democrats' civil war erupts with screaming and primary threats behind closed doors over the government shutdown or not shutdown. So in other words, in the Democrat Party, the Stalinists and the Trotskyites are fighting each other. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party believes a government shutdown is great when they think it's to their political advantage. They wanted the government shutdown to get at Trump. They don't care if you suffer. They don't care if the country suffers. That's quite beside the point, which brings me to the point of my opening statement. Political manipulation. The manipulation of we the people. Let me give you some examples. Democrat after Democrat went on TV, stated that the Republicans and President Trump want to destroy Social Security and Medicare. They've been doing it all week. It's a flat-out lie. But they say it over and over again without challenge. Elon Musk found $50 to $100 billion every year that's lost in Social Security due to fraud. They want to eliminate that, which will help save Social Security. Yet both programs, according to their trustees, are headed for bankruptcy. So nothing will be done about either of them until they collapse, quite frankly, which will create an immense shock to our system. Why? Because the Democrat Party will not allow it, because they will propagandize about it. Democrat after Democrat has gone on TV and stated that the Republicans are gutting Medicaid. That's a flat-out lie. But they say it over and over again without challenge. Medicaid is being used by illegal aliens and physically and mentally fit people who are capable of working at least 20 hours a week, but refuse to do so. They're draining the Medicaid system and should be removed. That's not gutting Medicaid, but the Democrats say it is. They're lying. They're manipulating. Democrat after Democrat has gone on TV, stated that the president and Republicans want to cut taxes for billionaires. Now, why would they want to cut taxes for billionaires? Is that a popular thing to do? Will that get them more votes? It's a flat-out lie, but they say it over and over again without challenge. Eliminating taxes on tips, Social Security benefits, and overtime are not tax cuts for billionaires. Across-the-board income tax cuts are tax cuts for all taxpayers, not tax cuts for billionaires. Slashing the corporate tax rate to 15% for businesses that locate in the United States or already in the United States, that's not a tax cut for billionaires. But the Marxist class warfare claptrap is a favorite of the Democrats, and without it, they wouldn't know what to say. And so that's their fallback position. But it's a lie. It's intended to manipulate you. Class warfare. Democrat after Democrat told us that the border was secure. Then they told us that, well, it wasn't secure, so we need bipartisan immigration reform legislation. Otherwise, it can't be secured. That was a flat-out lie, but they said it over and over again without challenge. President Trump has now secured the border. He's effectively secured the border after a few weeks in office. He did not change a single law, nor was any new law passed or needed. What was needed was a new president using executive orders and enforcing existing law. But that didn't stop them from saying it. Democrat after Democrat told us that Joe Biden was sharp, that they had spoken with him and they could vouch for his mental acuity. That was a flat-out lie, but they said it over and over and over again without challenge, meaning from the media. Democrat after Democrat tell us that the President Trump, is a dictator and a tyrant. That's a flat-out lie. He's never violated the Constitution. He complies with every single court order. And since when does a dictator or a tyrant reduce his own power? That is, reduce the power of the central government, reduce its size, reduce its reach. President Trump is cutting the bureaucracy, cutting spending, cutting the debt, cutting regulations, and cutting taxes, all intended to empower the people. The private sector. and give authority back to the states. That's a funny way for a dictator and a tyrant to act, don't you think? Democrat after Democrat accuses the Republicans of being extremists and bigots. That's a flat-out lie, but they say it over and over again without challenge. Actually, the Democrat Party is the home to the radicals and the extremists, the bigots and the kooks. It's the home to Bernie Sanders and AOC. I would call them Marxists, if not Stalinists, and many others who are Marxists. That is, they reject America's founding, the Constitution, capitalism, and so forth. It is the home to scores of anti-Semites like Tlaib and Omar, who are openly bigoted and support the worst kind of genocidal maniacs. And of course, it openly declares for the fundamental transformation of our country. Well, what the hell is that? The Constitution doesn't allow it, but they support it. That's right. They defend the Hitler Youth at Columbia University and on all our other college campuses. That's right. They claim they have a First Amendment right to victimize Jews. It aligns itself with groups like CARE, a Hamas-connected front group. Who are the radicals? Who are the bigots? This manipulation undermines our republic. It is a perversion of an open society, of democratic ideals, of speech and debate. It deceives, distracts, confounds the public. Decisions are not made based on knowledge and real debate. We, the people, are denied the facts and the truth from which to make judgments and decisions, to challenge politicians and governmental officials. And this is now the nature and character of public debate in our country. And like it or not, the main practitioners of manipulation are, in fact, the American Marxists and their media. The point is that we, the people, when it comes to politics and public discourse, the Democrat Party and the media, which control most of the culture, we are mostly dealing with a ruling class that promotes propaganda, pseudo-events, distractions, and false narratives, which is antithetical to a healthy, well-functioning republic. It denies we, the people, facts and information required to make both individual and collective decisions. It is intended to control that which we believe, how we think. And this is how autocracies function. This is how they use language and control thought. That is, this is how they manipulate the public. Look at our colleges and universities. They've become Marxist, Islamist indoctrination mills. That they were supposed to be the centers of free speech, academic freedom, and knowledge. They're the opposite. Look at public schools these days. They become petri dishes for anti-Americanism, radical woke ideologies, sexual perversion, and the war on the nuclear family and parental control. Look at our media. It's mostly a monopolistic propaganda operation for the Democrat Party and the radical left, and big centralized government. There's little free about it. It has been devoured into the DC power vortex. Look at this absurd debate about the government shutdown. The Democrats have argued for years that a government shutdown will destroy our civilization. Today, they argue that a government shutdown was an imperative to save our civilization. That is, to save the government, we must shut it down. That is a party that will say and do anything for power, even if it's utterly contradictory and nonsensical. But you can better understand now, I think, why these people hate President Trump, Elon Musk, our next guest, Mike Johnson, and most of you. They and you are the real resistance. You refuse to be brainwashed. You refuse to buy into their tyranny. You refuse to abandon your God-given senses, your morality, your principles. You refuse to join them in the fundamental transformation of America. You are the real resistance. We, the people. President Trump is the real resistance. It is he and you who stand between their tyranny and our freedom. We'll be right back.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.